but Troy elaborates a bit more in the following episode. He explains that Alicia helped him and his wife when they were in a bind, which inspired Serena to also go out and help people. But one of these calls turned fatal and she was killed by a robber, which somehow caused Troy to believe that it was Alicia's thinking, and thereby Madison's thinking, that got Serena killed. By putting that idea into her head, the Clarks caused Troy's wife to put herself in danger, which got her killed. This is f***ing stupid.
You stupid.
Like, okay, right, I can buy that he would be mad at Madison for putting the idea into her head, right? While extremely convoluted, it does make sense how somebody like Troy, who is already very biased against the Clarks, would do all kinds of mental gymnastics to place the blame on them. The explanation kind of makes sense in that respect. The problem is literally everything else. Firstly, the fact that Troy even has a wife in the first place is really out of character in my opinion. He never really seemed like the type of guy who would ever be tied down like that, and they never really established the extent of their relationship to make us care. Like, we don't know anything about this Serena woman. All we know is that she was Troy's wife. Like, that's it. Secondly, simply from a writing perspective, this is the most unengaging way to establish something like this. Troy hates the Clarks for something that we never see them do. In fact, they didn't actually do anything aside from Alicia, who in fact helped Troy despite having every reason not to. He also explains this entire story verbally, which is the most boring way to do this. Like, okay, obviously they didn't have access to all of the actors, but there are ways to get around that. This is also a case of why show don't tell is such an important piece of storytelling, because these writers are trying to get us to believe that a philosophy is the culprit without showing why it's dangerous. Troy's gripe isn't really with the Clarks themselves, it's with their philosophy, but your enemy can't be a f***ing idea. Characters represent ideas, but ideas do not represent characters. This is part of what made seasons 4 and 5 so bad, which is that their villain was that people didn't agree with their ideas. Even worse is the fact that the whole blame game is so many degrees removed from who should actually be to blame. Instead of blaming the guy who actually killed his wife, Troy blames the person who inspired her for putting ideas into her head that led her to that situation, and then blames her mother for inspiring her. It'd be like if Batman blamed his parents' deaths on Joe Chill's cousin calling him a loser 20 years ago. It's contrived as f*** and has no basis in reality. But worst of all is that Troy already has a reason to hate Madison. Ever since she came into his life, it's been nothing but tragedy after tragedy for him. Her presence was what escalated the conflict with Taka, leading to Jeremiah's death. Her banning him from the ranch made him angry enough to lose the herd to destroy his own home. And oh yeah, she tried to f***ing kill him. There are so many things you could have cited for why Troy wants revenge, right? But instead, it's all based on nothing the audience has seen or has any context on. How in the f*** do you f*** up your final season conflict this f***ing badly? Chambliss and Goldberg, I'm using your actual names here because if you're watching this, I really want you to internalize this. You should be f***ing embarrassed. So anyways...